let's continue our questions because there is a lot of questions to answer and conversational questions. As I said, I answer for one question for a minute or two. I'm trying to answer as much as I can, and it's not be about a good answer. It should be an answer because I want to produce language. So its role is not paying attention to mistakes. It is all about speaking. That's it. There is nothing more, nothing less. So, how can someone maintain fluency? It is important topic for many language learners. From my perspective, I can say something about my English, how I can do it, and I need to be keep in touch with English. I can use on a daily basis. I feel like small usage of English can decrease your fluency. You will never forget probably, but you can feel like you're kind of rusty. So it's a bit uncomfortable, but you should be adjusted to what you speak. But consistency is a key for maintaining this language that you wanna know, because to be honest, you will never forget your language entirely. Maybe if happened something horrific, it would happen, but to be honest, there is no case that I can say that if your brain didn't work, what would happen then? No, you can lose your language learning abilities, your cognates cannot be the best. Maybe it is possible to forget a bit of language, so maybe even entirely. But your mind would have to be unfunctioned. Yes, so it's so easy. I shared with you ways. Go next. Is speaking every day necessary? From my perspective, I evaluate it as something unnecessary. You don't have to speak every day, it is not necessary. Even because sometimes we don't have any mental space and any energy to consider this topic, wonder about it. We just wanna do our daily tasks. But if we could an opportunity to do this, why wouldn't we do this activity? I can tell you that it is a good thing to be able to speak. Sometimes when you wanna reflect, it's good to think in this language because you can be connected better to it. I do recommend basically, when you can write a journal in your target language. Maybe I have been doing it for 3 years in English, and it helps. And a small practice about it can help you a lot, and it is not required because you can repeat it over time. It is not tough, but I do recommend. What is the role of habits in language learning? When it comes to it, I feel like it makes you automatic, that you don't have to think consciously about it. You just start acting. You don't consider every single step. But when you limit your decisions, what you do, and suddenly you just focus on task, and you are willing to do more because you don't have to think about what you're gonna do or something like that. Maybe this, maybe those. No, you just do it and you don't think about it too much, because I feel like when it comes to people, they tend to overthink everything because they have a lot of tools, but some people can go crazy. Instead of creating good content, they wanna come up with something extraordinary. I can equalize with this, and unfortunately, I acted this way. And to be honest, sometimes I would say that imperfect content is better than any content, and I shouldn't focus on creating content. So it is a reason, and that's why I'm creating this kind of content where I'm not gonna edit anything and I'm gonna show in public what I think actually. So it is an answer, but when it comes to habits in language learning, I would like to refer this to something that can build over time, that you can do one thing and you can do thing another, and it is the issue of adjusting to new things. But I know that sometimes it can be challenging, but you can do it. Do everything. Although everyone can struggle with certain things to adjust, I guess, every single aspect of life, because we are only human beings, so it's natural, because we should notice that not every aspect of life is so good as we would want it, probably. Why is consistency so powerful? Because small efforts can show up over the time, and you can be astonished what results you've got. And sometimes you have no idea why did you do this, but the reason could be something like, okay, that's nice. And maybe sometimes when you don't think about every single day what you are doing, actually it helps you a lot when it comes to your daily action. I can say that consistency is the key when you wanna learn a language, for example, and when you are able to learn the language. It is a great achievement, because most of people is not able aren't able to do this. I would say that if you know at least two foreign languages fluently, it means that you're a more valuable person than most. And I guess there are many language learning enthusiasts, but sometimes it takes a lot of effort to become fluent. But to be honest, when you wanna study a lot, it seems to be fun. I'm speaking seriously, because when you like something, when you do it massively, you are taking massive actions. It changes a lot. I've noticed that when I am learning 2 hours, it brings me more enjoyment and fulfillment than ever. So I'm gonna increase this amount, but to be honest, there is certain limits that is not good to exceed, I guess. But to be honest, there is nothing wrong to learn 5, 6 hours. Why not? And maybe I will test it out, but I could be completely tired after this day. I tried to learn for almost 4 hours, but I felt like it didn't make sense because I wasn't adjusted. But it was the beginning that I didn't do this 2 hours, so I feel like it could be easier for me earlier. So it is the role of consistency. But yes, when it comes to consistency, I can say it's powerful because you can do it something daily and daily, and but that's why you can see clearly that how much time should someone study daily. It's a good thing, but if you wanna something as something one-sided, something what it is, you know, genuinely it is this something what it is not your main thing, but you have to learn about. It is your side project that you don't wanna focus on. I do recommend you do it 1 hour a day, even 30 minutes a day. At the beginning it was so useful, but when you wanna take it seriously as I'm doing it right now, I do recommend to dedicate a lot of time, maybe even your whole free time, because it benefits a lot. And when you are focused on one thing, sometimes I feel like we wanna limit ourselves, that we cannot do a lot of things, but we are capable of doing more than we think. And I feel like at the beginning we should start small, but when we wanna develop it over time, it is completely possible to learn even 3-4 hours. And I found the evidence of a person who was able to learn 6 hours per day for 3 months, something like that, and it was completely insane. And this person was able to achieve a huge progress in French. Basically, this person has become a polyglot within 2 years, something like that, and I was something like, it's insane. But this person was completely committed, and in this moment, this person is learning English to C2 level, and it's completely insane for me. But I'm studying English because I started, so I wanted to dedicate about 200 hours, and it is the best moment of my life. Maybe it can change your entire world, I don't know, but 3-4 hours, it's insane. But to be honest, let's be honest, there can be a lot of things, but it can take 6-7 hours. You can do it, why not? You can do something when you're committed, why not? So yeah, it is my approach when it comes to it. Let's go to the key. So what about the next question? Is 1 hour enough? Okay, it is the thing that can help you to make a decision. I feel like 1 hour isn't enough. I don't agree, because sometimes you should do more if you wanna quicker results. But an hour, if you don't have time, if it is not your main interests, you can do it. Why not? Why not? I feel like it is something what you could consider, but you don't have to. Here is a significant difference, but when you work in a job 9 to 5, I feel like sometimes some people cannot allow themselves because they wanna know a language, but they wanna eat consistently and they wanna build a habit. Why not? It is a good approach. I'm not gonna criticize, but when you wanna do something else, it is useful. Sometimes I can say that some people need to learn a language, but they don't work and they just learn a language, and it is possible. But I have heard cases that people could do it actually when they laid out layoff, and they started doing insane things. Even they do what they actually could do during their job. They tried to improve their language. It was all about this. I feel like it can be extremely helpful when you know what you are doing actually. So, answering to this question, for this question, 1 hour can be enough for many people, but to be honest, when you wanna get quick results, it's not enough. You study more. It is the sign of doing this. So yes, can intense study accelerate fluency? Yes, and I can agree with this that learning a language completely free 4 hours, it can increase your results significantly. But I remember that I've said that it's completely not effective, but I don't agree with this that study intensively cannot increase your quality of learning. Maybe somehow, but it shouldn't be like this. To be honest, my experience with Russian is a good example because I was learning for 2 3 weeks, something like that, and I felt like it's so useful because 2 hours it could be a decent amount. 3 weeks, why not? It could serve you a bit. You could develop over time. You could become better at this. Why not? There weren't reasons why I shouldn't do it. People can say you that you are weird or something like that, and you are funny or something like that. That when people can start worry, it is a good sign. But it means that you can do everything okay. I guess it is a good reason. But to be honest, I just wonder about why some people can be go crazy. But to be honest, sometimes we need to take massive action. We need to do extreme things. It could be something like this. I can say so. I do agree with this because I feel like when you study this language, when you can speak out more and more and more, suddenly you can speak out, and that's insane. And you get insane results, and you have more problems. So yes, it is the thing. Why do some people burn out? I feel like it is not being adjusted to doing a lot when you are supposed to do these things. I feel like we are trying to increase our qualities when we aren't adjusted to this, and I feel like I could experience a small burnout because I put on my shoulders too much, because I had an episode when I was learning 3 hours day English. Yes, it could be for 2 3 weeks, but maybe I pre-planned it for 6 7 weeks, but I couldn't handle. And to be honest, I wasn't mentally prepared for doing this, but I didn't adjust my routine, my life. I didn't resign with certain things. So it was the reason I was going to the school. So it was a problem, but I didn't want to abandon these things, unfortunately. But beyond of this, I feel like burnout is something what can make you vulnerable to certain things. But on the other hand, I can say that it is not knowing your limits, and people can do it, but not because you don't like it, but you do it because you are not desperate, and the last thing that you wanna do is this thing. So it's about this. How can someone avoid burnout? And I feel like this about increasing stepwisely your time of learning. For example, when it comes to language learning, I feel like we have certain thresholds, maybe in our mind, maybe in something like that, that we can see what it means, in my opinion, and we can do it. And I notice that sometimes people cannot live without certain things, and maybe sometimes you cannot burn out because you cannot live without certain things. And I feel like it is the stage of my life that I cannot live without language learning, because to be honest, I liked it and it's so funny, but maybe I cannot get results, but I can do still it because I enjoy the process of doing, thinking about it. And it's so funny when we are speaking about it, but it is true. Okay, the next thing. Is immersion necessary for fluency? When it comes to this question, I wouldn't agree with this statement because we have many examples of people who can speak fluently, but they don't live in the country. They didn't surround themselves with this language a lot. They've never been immersed in this language. Maybe even from my experience, in my experience, I've never immersed myself in language because I studied for a while and it was just it. There was nothing more, but I've never had this kind of need. So maybe immersion isn't necessary, but I feel like it can help you a lot. It can turn out to be beneficial for your language learning. So I do recommend to doing it, but without it, it is still possible, and I am an example of achieving this because I show you my perspective and I share with you my experience that I've been learning English since I was a kid, but typically when I started learning seriously English, it's gone 2.5 years, something like that. So it is all about this because I can acknowledge that it is the third year of learning English to become better at this. And to be honest, I've achieved maybe something about B2 level. And yes, it's hard to break free to C1, but it stems from many underlying issues. But it was challenging, but I could get someone to help. So yeah. Go next. Can the internet replace living abroad? Let's be honest. What is able to replace your real life experiences with people than internet? Maybe you can watch them, you can be like them, but at the end of the day you can live in completely different reality from this I feel like I can live in Poland, can speak English, but still I cannot talk to people, and I can live with people that are completely different than I, and they don't have passions like me, and it is a problem sometimes. But I feel like I can be completely misunderstood when I see word differently. I can listen to English videos, and it is not a problem. And I do many things in English, even if I can have English books even. What is the funniest part? But is a problem? I don't know. But it, to be honest, experiences with real people will never replace you. This internet, but maybe online communication can give a piece of it. But to be honest, it's pointless because we are learning a language to communicate with people instead of doing something else. So, replying for these questions, I don't agree with this statement. It is not appropriate. How useful is YouTube for language learning? This YouTube is the best place for language learning that I know. I actually use a lot of YouTube to learn something, to watch something, and to be honest, it was the place that I could find out the most. And to be honest, I like spending a lot of time on YouTube watching even sometimes things that are completely pointless, but to be honest, it helps me a lot. I can find out something new, I can study something new, I can just widen my knowledge in many areas of life. When it comes to language learning, you have thousands of ways to learn how to learn a language. There are many resources out there what you can do, and to be honest, you have lots of input that you can use. And it depends on the language, but when you want to learn English, it's possible. Spanish, it's possible to have a lot of content. Go further. French, there is a lot. Russian, probably yes, but it can be less. Although, when I learned Russian, probably I didn't watch some YouTube, but I was watching fairy tales on YouTube. So yes, maybe there is a lot of content in Russian, but I felt like there is not as much as I thought that there is. But it depends on perspective. Okay. What type of content helps the most? It depends on what you want, but I feel like some answers you can find only in English. When you read original books, you can come across, you can encounter this idea that can help you, and the original book is the most important, I feel like. And to be honest, I bought as well original version of certain book because I wanted to get this. I believe that it can help me. And to be honest, yes, maybe they are books that are only in English. So most people don't have access to this knowledge that it's there. To be honest, sometimes, yeah, I do agree that it's sometimes too hard to understand or something like that. But we should benefit from this. So it is all about this, but when it comes to type of content help the most, maybe self-improvement. But I liked watching this type of content, but to be honest, it depends on the person. But I feel like maybe self-improvement content is related to some other things that are completely related, maybe about psychology or something like that. And I feel like I liked the most this kind of topics related to this, but I don't care about habits or something like that, but it's about lifestyle and how you can think about yourself, what you can do, and it is about your approach, because I feel like self-improvement is completely related to many topics, but I feel like language learning, psychology, and this kind of articulation, what is related to a human being, it is the most useful topics personally. But you can enjoy what you want the best. Maybe you can enjoy watching the weather. Some people like watching about weather. They wanna know something about environment, something about psychology. There are many areas that are useful studying. So people should choose what they actually want. So thank you for today's lesson, and I feel like I can share with you more this kind of experience. Greetings for you, and until the next, guys. Bye.